what is up? Vaxee NP-01s and the Vaxee brand undoubtedly has somewhat of a cult following in the peripheral space, and I had to find out for myself what's up with this brand. Anyway, to kick off the video, we'll start off with how often I use this mouse. 10 hours plus of usage per day, 21 by 12 hands. Temperature is over 90 plus degrees. The humidity is 80+% outside, it's 43% indoors. I've got very sweaty fingertips and a clammy hand, but I have a soft, relaxed grip on my mouses. So let's start off with the battery life. This is of course running in 1K, and I get about 4 to 5 days of over 10 hours plus a day of battery life. So you can push it to 1 week depending on how much you use the mouse, of course. But yeah, for me, 4 or 5 days, sometimes 10, sometimes 14 hours a day, no problem. And in terms of cleanliness, you can see it's holding out pretty good, and that's partially because of its light color and the coating itself. There's smudges and a little bit of oily residue all over the mouse, but the color itself helps mask this out very well. The grime and buildup is, unavoidable with my greasy hands. So, there's tiny amount of buildup around the M1 and M2 buttons, and also where my thumb and pinky fingers rest. So that is the cleanliness situation. Now, as for the shape and size, this is a small to medium sized mouse. If I had to quickly describe it, I would say this is an ergo version of the OP1WE. It's got a flatter top and a rear mid hump, mild rear hump is what I wanted to say. Now, the biggest point of this particular shape is the ergonomic side and the rear hump. It's kind of, nestles your thumb right under the buttons, as you can see, where the width is 55 millimeters, where the sensor is, which puts it squarely in the medium size mouse grip. Now the sides are slightly scooped out, and it's got like a kind of a V shape. Enhances your grip there a little bit, which is why the size feels like an OP1WE. Now, even for my large hands, I found that this mouse is very, very comfortable. Now, obviously, the Vaxee NP-01s is slightly bigger than the OP1WE, but the OP1WE sides are kind of flattish, while the NP-01s kind of like digs in deeper, scoops in with that ergo shape. It gives you that smaller feeling. That is why I compare this to, I feel like the NP-01s is just like an ergo version of the OP1WE, but really comfortable in my hands, which brings us to the build quality next, and this is where the brand kind of shines. It's very solid. It's like a small brick. It weighs 69.3 grams in my copy, which is not exactly very heavy, but not in the super light category as well. It doesn't feel particularly heavy, probably because of its smaller size. The quality itself is a work of art. There's zero wobble on the button. The gaps are the tightest that I've ever seen on any mice. Even the they even tapered the edges of the buttons and the body. If you take a closer look at this top of the button, they tapered the switches that way, and the body they tapered it that way, just so that it looks kind of seamless and almost flush with the body. The precision and the thought put into the design of the mouse makes me really appreciate the talent that they have at Vaxee development department. It's really a work of art, truly a work of art. I do have some creaking and squeaking even on the the slightest of grips, if you can hear that. Even when I squeeze it a little bit, when I press the button, there's a little bit of squeaking going on. I can imagine this being quite annoying for people who have more aggressive grips, or people who apply more pressure on the sides of the grips. As for the coating itself, the surface is has the grippy coating, but it is much milder than other normal mouses that have this type of grippy coating. I still feel like I need side grips on this coating because of my hot and humid environment and my sweaty fingers. But in general, I think 90% of users out there won't need any type of grips. This coating is not as matte as an Endgame Gear coating. You can see the Endgame Gear is really dry, matte and chalky, while the NP-01s has a little bit of shine to it, even though it's got a grippy coating, but it is not as grippy as the Endgame Gear kind of surface. So I did find it a little bit slippery because I sweat a lot. The buttons itself, they're very soft and consistent everywhere on the triggers. There's a smidgen of pre and post travel, but overall the tensioning of the switches are very nice and satisfying. The side buttons are on the smaller side, as you can see, but I have no issues with them, other than they cannot be custom assigned, which is kind of annoying. But the biggest issue is the creaking and the squeaking noises that you get out of it. Other than that, there's really no issue with it. It just takes away from that premium mouse experience, especially if you're wearing headphones and you depend on the tactile feedback for affirmation. So this is kind of like lacking in the part, just that little squeak. It kind of annoys me a little bit. The feet are standard PTFE and they work great. The only reason I might change them is if I want to use a glass pad or something, or maybe if I want the mouse to feel a bit lighter, I could swap them out for obsidian dots. As for performance, my main gripe is that creaky and squeaky build. Other than that, everything is great. It comes in the box with the dongle, with the USB-C cable. The only problem with the USB-C cable is you can't use it on anything else except the Vaxee dongle, which has this kind of like, I don't like it when companies do this. They make their cables exclusive to only the dongle, so you can't use it for anything else. So that's not very good. There's also no software for me to custom assign my mouse wheel button and my side buttons, so that's kind of a downside of Vaxee's. But other than that, you can do all your settings on the mouse itself with that little pamphlet provided together with the mouse. Pretty easy to use, but if you had software, you can assign these side buttons to something you want to do in game, like swap out weapons or something. So that is kind of like lacking a little bit. On Kovacs itself, I got one personal best out of 25 attempts, and overall the results were very good in tracking and switching targets, but it wasn't as great in flicking scenarios. Overall, it's one of the best mouses I've ever used. Even with, you know, the creaking body, it's still pretty good. The last thing I want to talk about is the value for money. It's very expensive and it's very elite. I think for some people it's worth it, and for some people they are expecting a little bit more. I'm in the group where I'm expecting a little bit more out of this mouse. Although I had a great experience with it, it feels nice to use, very comfortable in the hand, but the software part is one of the downsides, and the body creaking is another downside. Anyway, that's my review of the NP-01s Vaxee, a mouse I wanted to try for a very long time, a brand that I wanted to try for a very long time, because I've never tried a Vaxee mouse before. So anyway, that's my video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.